Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the DELCO Cross Country Podcast. With you as always, this is Kevin Key, and I got to give you all love after the season premiere episode of Season 3 that released last week. The way too early predictions episode is now my second highest listened to episode ever on this podcast. Actually going into number one probably by the end of the weekend. So thank you all for that love. Thank you all for the excitement of a new cross-country season. I just wanted to give you all shout-outs here. Also on my Instagram, the @DelcoXCPod, you would see that there is an Instagram takeover happening very soon. I already have 3 teams that are very interested in this takeover, have some dates set up already, so get on the lookout for those Instagram takeovers by teams. I think starting as early as tomorrow. This podcast will release on Thursday with Garnet Valley being my first Instagram takeover. I'm excited for this to happen again. If you're interested in taking over the Instagram account, just send me a message, DelcoXCPod, on Instagram or Twitter. Most of you are on Instagram anyway. Just send it to me there, and we can set up a day with you, your coach, and myself to take over that podcast. Take over the Instagram account. This episode, however, is a little different. I have a co-host today. I have Mr. Trifecta. Hasn't really been on the podcast since season 1, I believe. I'm going to call him Mr. Trifecta. Yes, one of the 5 men to complete the DELCO triple at DELCO Championships, the 800, the 3200, the mile run, and win those events. Welcome back to the podcast. DELCO favorite, actually, Greg Thomas. Greg, welcome back to the podcast.
Kev, thank you as always. Glad to be here.
So, Greg, we're setting the scene on this one. This one is about sophomore sensations, and we have seen our showing of sophomore sensations as teammates who, when I talk about sophomore sensations, they took their training up to the next level from their freshman year to their sophomore year, specifically in summer running. We've talked as coaches about the importance of summer running at one point together when we were coaching cross country and how important that was, and we saw those successes in different athletes alone, like a Sam Gleva, a Jenna Rastatter, which we'll probably end up talking about, but we also saw it in teammates along the lines of like a Matt DiCarlo, who took that next level up at Cardinal O'Hara within his sophomore year. So we're going to be talking about how specific training is going to help these athletes going forward and how important it is for summer running to take place going into that preseason, regular season of cross country.
Absolutely.
And the biggest thing here is trying to see where these athletes are going to take the next steps moving forward, and those different athletes that we'll be talking about as those top sophomore returners into the 2025 season. So if we think years back about summer running programs for high school runners compared to now, when we were running in high school, we were talking pre-show about a pamphlet that Tom Kennedy would give us,
yeah.
Right? And it would be, here's your mileage for the week. That's completely changed at this point. Summer running has completely shifted from, hey, just log these X amount of miles to now we're going to integrate different trainings, different speed work, different strength training, recovery tracking, nutrition planning for some athletes. Where do you think that shift started, and why do you think this shift started in cross country?
The shift, believe it or not, maybe I'm being a little biased, I think started at the back end of our high school careers where we were finally starting to recognize college programs and higher mileage. Didn't have to be fast miles. I think that's one thing we should talk about today too is get your miles in, but they don't have to be fast. Take your time. I think that was dictated to us when we were young. Like you said, I remember Kay's pamphlet. It would be 3 miles here, 4 miles there, nothing crazy per week. I think our max summer training programs were 35 miles for a week. And I'll also throw myself under the bus. I did none of it. I was very active during the summers, but I didn't do summer running. But I think that will lead into how important summer running actually is. But now, like Kev said, I think as we started to recognize recovery is a huge part of summer training as well, stretching post runs just as well as getting loose before runs. But also, I think the mileage. If you're getting the miles in, all that's doing is just teaching your legs how to handle that type of for instance, this sport is very unique. If you're not running, then what's happening is that you're just kind of prolonging your progress.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, like, hey, I didn't do the summer running, and then it became an utter shock when you had someone like a Matt DiCarlo jump in on you and is on your back during workouts early season. Charlie McNulty, I believe, did this to you junior season as well, our junior year, just on your back. Like, hey, they took a step forward into that summer training, and they really focused in on getting those mileages in. I think, like, a key component to, like, this science of change started to happen under Tom Kennedy's time at Cardinal O'Hara. He saw a change after we graduated, like immediately after we graduated,
yes,
and changed the program completely. So it was no longer, hey, we're going to do 35 miles max. We're going to change this program. We're going 50 to 60 miles per week with integrated training. He would put in different workouts within those things. And then that training continued to increase over time when we have GPS watches that are now out. We have online group plans. Strava accountability. I learned under Tom Kennedy.
Yeah.
So I continue to say I learned from the best.
Yeah.
Because I was able to take what he did and use it in my own coaching. And I was able to at least jump on this early with my athletes and say, hey, we're going to not only have a Strava account where I can track your runs, but we're going to have a group where I'm seeing what you're doing, and I'm going to hold you accountable with this work, with this workouts. And if I'm not seeing you doing the work, you're going to get a phone call, your parents are going to get a phone call, and we're going to try to figure out a way in which we're going to help you. Yeah. So a lot of times with me, if I didn't see you doing the work, we would have a conversation, and then it'd be like, okay, I'm going to and I even changed summer running programs for athletes for them to catch up quicker come August, rather than being behind their teammates the way they were going to be behind their teammates. And, I mean, this works. I mean, the science behind it has worked. You've seen athletes come out of nowhere from their freshman year to their sophomore year. We've already mentioned teammates. We've seen athletes. I mean, we coached Catholic League Championship team together, and actually you weren't on the coaching staff when they won, but you were at the meet when they won. We got to see the progression of a Sam Gleva who was going 22 minutes, 21:30s, 21:40s, her freshman year in cross country. Would be on the brinks of breaking 6-minute miles indoor and outdoor, and never did, was running 13:05, 3,200 meter races in the outdoor season, and then did her summer running when I sat down with her and said, hey, this is going to be beneficial for you. Follow the prescription. It's going to work. She went 13th at DELCO's the next year in cross country, running a 2018 PR, really changed the game for Prendy, and started that whole shift. And like, hey, we have a chance of winning a championship down the road, going 5:44 in the mile down the road, going 2:41 in the 800, dropping down to a 12:30, 3,200, as well as our 11:18 3K throughout the indoor season. So you could see the difference that summer training absolutely makes for certain athletes as long as they're focused on that prescription. We saw another athlete, Jenna Rastatter. Jenna came out at Prendy as a freshman. She ran cross country for a day, and she would tell me this. Her teammates kind of like ran away from her and left her behind. I was not coaching at this time at Prendy. I was coaching at O'Hara. So she's like, yeah, this might not be for me. She came out for indoor track. She's like, Coach, I'm a jumper. I'm like, okay, well, you're going to do some running too. And her freshman year was like, okay, we're going to go into sprints. And it's like, I want to join the distance program. Okay, let's join the distance program. Her sophomore year, a
lot of influence from her brother on that. I think her brother Ryan pushed her too.
Her brother Ryan definitely pushed her to running track in general. You would see she actually does have long jumps in her PA mile split account, and they were okay. They were a less than average long jumper. So
shout out Jenna.
I was like, at one point, she'll make that transition. Her sophomore year cross country, she PR'd at 22:37. She realized, hey, I might have something. But it was her biggest training came junior year to senior year in cross country. Senior year cross country, she finished 3rd overall at DELCO Championships. I can tell you nobody saw her coming at Delco Championships. I think Bill Corrin even gave me a huge shock surprise that she finished within the top 3 in that race, dropping a 2010 overall in that. She dropped a 2019, finishing 3rd only to 2 Mancinis, and then dropped 2010 a couple weeks later, showing that the training was ready for her. And remember, her PRs before this, she was running 21:59, 21:35 at best within her junior year, and then decides, hey, I'm going to be a stud runner my senior year, and breaks out. But once again, it comes that summer running, it comes that accountability with everything. The biggest person I've ever seen change in a distance running program is a guy from Cardinal O'Hara by the name of Matt Hayes. Matt Hayes ran 2 years, junior year and senior year for Cardinal O'Hara. I have a distinct story driving up to Hershey with Matt Hayes during state championships. I took him to state championships with another athlete, and we drove out the morning of. We were excited for the race. We had no idea what was going to happen. O'Hara was favored to finish within the top 3. They ended up tying and then losing on the tie. The way back was very quiet. We were very focused in. We didn't know, we were trying to figure out different things. Way home, I could see the look on Matt's face, the fire in Matt's face. Matt Hayes went 18:34 his junior year in cross country at Delco Championships. All right, 1847 at Catholic League Championships and 1856 at Briarwood Invitational.
Remarkable. This is absolutely remarkable.
All right, I saw the fire in his eyes, and Matt looked over at me and says, Key, that's never going to happen again. We're not going to lose on the tie. I'm going to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I was like, all right, Matt, now you have a fire. Let's light it a little bit more. Over the summer, Matt does his running program. He does the summer training. He dropped a 16:18 at the Great American Festival, 16:36 at Delco Championships, finishing 11th overall, 16:31 at Catholic League Championships, finishing 5th overall, 16:32 at District 12 Championships, going 16:32. If you're doing the math, that kid dropped 2.5 minutes basically from his junior year to his senior year, just because there was one light of the fire that happened to him, happened to his team at the end of a cross-country season, saying, hey, that's not going to happen again. Sadly, it happened the same way the next year, where they lost on the tie, but after that, they lost on the tie, and then they went to national championships, and it's one of the greatest cross-country teams in the history of Delaware County, finishing 5th overall at national championships. I mean, sometimes it just takes a light of a fire. Sometimes it takes a coach to push you to the next level. Sometimes it's just like, hey, here's the science behind it. So there's a huge science behind everything. So what do you think is, when it comes to summer training, where do you think that science, that build up, those workouts, the cross-training methods, that mental prep, where do you think that shift actually came in, where now you're cross-training instead of always just doing the miles, instead of pounding the cement, you're cross-training, you're on a bike sometimes, you're in the pool. Why do you think that actually happened?
I think it's a trickle-down effect. I mean, you think of some of the greatest coaches of all time at higher levels. They were coaching Olympic athletes and college athletes. They kind of were hip to this first, right? They had understood they maybe seen experience from other sports and these things. It's kind of, now it seems like common sense, right? But if you're going to get stronger, you're going to get more powerful, you're going to get faster or better at your selected trade, whatever that may be, right? Now, in doing that, what happens is you are building your body up. You're breaking your body down and you're building your body back up. I think if we're talking running specific, your cardiovascular system is it, right? Like, you can be no knock at cross-country runners, but some of them can't do push-ups. Some of them can't bench press. They can't squat 100 pounds. But that's not their trade. Their trade is their cardiovascular system. The way that their body takes in oxygen and uses it to its best availability, right? And then when it starts to turn into lactate, how your body turns lactate into oxygen, or uses that lactate, I should say, for your body to continue on. Now, all this came from upper end guys, big coaches. Marcus O'Sullivan, I'll give a shout out to, because he's just so well known in it. One of the greatest runners in all of world history, mind you. I don't even know how many times he's broken 4 minutes in the mile. It's a crazy number. But either way, as a coach at Villanova, one of the most prominent running programs, guys like that, he was already tapping into this, understanding how to build VO2 max, how to get your body when it's under the most stress, when lactate is building up and your muscles want to shut down, how your body uses that lactate to keep you going, right? Especially in a 5K, an 8K, a 10K, those types of things. But if we hone back in on high school, that shift is really, it starts small. It's just like anything. There's a few people, then someone sees progress and they see that it's working, then they take it for themselves and they kind of tweak it a little bit. You know, for instance, you're not going to put high school kids on college running programs necessarily, even though that is kind of happening at a rate. But that trickle down, I think, is so valuable for these athletes because all it does is give you a jump on what it is that you're trying to do. Maybe if you want to run in college, or maybe if you want to run beyond that, maybe if you just want to run for the rest of your life, there is value in that. I think even if it's just going out for 3 miles a day, there is value in it, right? But if it's your sport and you really focus in, you dive into what is going to get you to be your best, your absolute best. These are the ways to do it. You know, Kev has touched so many times now on the summer training. And I think that summer training is super valuable. Speaking from someone, once again, who didn't really do it. I was active in the summer, so my cardiovascular system was running. I was building strength, playing different sports and things like that. Swimming and running, playing hockey, all these things. But would also value, for instance, if you were in August, right? If you didn't do your summer running and you're feeling guilty about it, that's okay, right? You put in work last year that maybe you didn't put in years prior. But I would build on these things. The work that you do during the year is arguably the most valuable. Summer running is just a prep. That's all it is. It's just to get your body so that when you come in week 1, your body is ready to go then, right? You can knock out hill workouts then. You can do crush tempo runs and come back to your coach and say, Coach, I feel great. Like, that's the difference. He had mentioned guys like Matt DiCarlo and Charlie McNulty, and I can name drop. Kev himself, he's modest. He's not going to talk about himself, but he's another one where they did the work during the summertime. They put in the miles on their own when no one was watching. That we didn't have watches like that. We had digital watches, and we weren't reporting anything to anybody. So it really was working on your own, working in the shadows. And I think having no one to hold you accountable was kind of my flaw. But either way, to fast forward, we come into camp and everyone would kind of be butting heads and it'd be like, oh man, this person's in shape and this person's in shape. And they kind of look at me like, you haven't really progressed much. Like, what did you do this summer, And yes, did I finish the year strong and make huge PRs during the year? For instance, I don't even know what I ran freshman year at Catholics. But my sophomore year, I ran 16.0 something, maybe. Maybe we'll call it 16:10. But either way, that jump happened because of me being pushed by my teammates during the year. If I would have done summer running, I guarantee I would have broke 60 minutes. I don't even think it's a question. I was chasing arguably one of the best O'Hara runners in history in Steve Hownan, and he had such a gap on second place at Catholic League Championships, which was me. I might have been able to push him to make him better too, which I think that's something we'll dive into. Is not only is summer running good for you, it's good for your teammates. It's good for everybody. It's good for everyone around you because they see what you can do. If you're working at your best, they're going to chase you. You're pushing somebody, or maybe one or the other, right? They're chasing you or you're pushing. And I think that's a beautiful thing about cross country, about running in general, is the push that you get from your teammates is what makes you best. The greatest runners in the world, they have great training program or training partners, I should say. I would bet that even the greatest distance runner, in my opinion, of all time, Elodie Kipchoge, I believe that he would not be as good as he was if he didn't have the training partners that he had. If he was running on his own, I don't think he would have broken 2 hours in the marathon. I just don't think it's necessarily possible to do on your own. You need somebody to push you.
Yeah, and we spoke about that back on our freshman podcast 2 years ago. Now there's freshmen and juniors in Kendra Williamson and Rowan Carr, who is primarily who that was about. But we spoke about how they can step up as teammates as well and push those younger guys. I mean, I re-listened to that podcast the other day and talked about how Rowan could push Sean Holst rightly and push Bart Bart, I'm blanking on your last name, and he has, like, you could see DELCO championships last year. Sean Hulse really stepped up for Pencrest because his teammates helped push him to that next level. I think it's very important to have, especially larger numbers on a team, teammates that hold you accountable other than just coaches that hold you accountable. Coaches can only do so much. Side note, you mentioned Marcus O'Sullivan. A quick Google search. This is why I love two-man podcasts. Quick Google search says he broke 4 minutes in a mile 101 times over his career. That is the third most times after Steve Scott and John Walker. He's the third all-time sub 4 minute miler. He also he has his DELCO connection, coaching at Villanova, as you already mentioned. But he was born in Cork, Ireland, December 22nd, which is actually a great date. So let's talk. We've already talked about an athlete's perspective a little bit. We talked about your perspective of, even though you said, hey, I was active, you were doing cross training before we even put a name to cross training in reality, but you weren't putting the distance in mileage wise.
And there is a difference, yeah.
So there's kind of you have to do both, cross training and mileage. It has to be part of both. And as he said, you can't feel guilty if you didn't do it. If you didn't do it, just own it and let's move forward and let's get that training to push to the next level. That's what I told my athletes in the past. Hey, you didn't do summer running. Now we have a lot to work on.
Yeah.
We have a lot to push to that next level.
If anyone tells you that doing summer running is going to hurt you, they're lying. The only way that it would hurt you is if you work too hard in the summer. If you were trying to run PRs on every 3 mile, 5 mile, 8 mile run, or every Sunday run, then that's what hurts you. Trust me, I know that from experience. But if you're just out there, just getting the miles in, plug in, you guys are so fortunate nowadays, plug in some headphones, or run with your teammates, meet up, go run, talk about what you want to, talk about what's fun. You don't always have to talk about running, but don't listen to the people that are going to tell you, oh, this is going to hurt you. Getting miles in is always going to be beneficial to the legs. It might not help you next week, but it might help you in 5 weeks. That's the way it works.
Well, it was great because now they're in their season. Now they're running together as a team every day. But it was great seeing on their Instagram pages these teammates meeting up over the summer. And I saw your post over the summer. I saw that you were having team meets and just team distance runs. It's very important just to build those relationships. We got closer just by distance runs together. I could never beat Greg in a track workout. I could never beat Greg in a track race. I came close, I think, a few times in a workout.
Absolutely.
But things kicked in. I would always push I would not tell my athletes to do this now. I would push distance runs to catch up on anything that I missed out on over the summer or in training. I would try to push myself a little bit more over those distance run times, only because I felt like I was behind. I would not recommend that now. I think distance runs are more of a recovery idea. Listen to your coaches on how they want you to pace things out. For me, we were never told, hey, this is a recovery jog. This is a up-tempo jog. We were never told that as athletes. Now as a coach, I'm saying, hey, this is a tempo run. You need to push this run, or hey, you need to kind of relax it. This is recovery. Take your time. I don't care what the mileage is. I don't care what time you split each mile. I just want you to recover for tomorrow's workout, because you never know what that next workout's going to be. Hills are a distance runner's best friend. They're also your worst enemy. Because I know how hard those are, I know how rough it is, and I know the mind games that go into them. And I would never tell my athletes how many hills we were running, and they hated it. We would do creek to pole at Rose Tree Park, and I'm going to tell you, they did it 10 times at one point, and they hated me. And when I mentioned this to Tom Kennedy, he says, dude, you're mean. The most you ever did was 5. So I'm kind of dying myself out a little bit here. But yeah, they would definitely work these creek to poles, and sometimes it would just creek to tree at Rose Tree Park, just to open their stride up a little bit more, build their speed and endurance. Let's just do a quick hit. Quick hitters before we talk about these incoming sophomores that we could see change some things. Best time of day to run in the summer. What do you think? For me, I have a time, but everyone's different.
All right, so I'm going to come from a science point, and also, which is kind of my biased opinion too. some of the people I've run with, some of the people that know me personally, they know I'm a little crazy. So the best time of the day to run to get the best results is in the heat of the day. It is dead. Kev's putting his head down. Now listen, there are ways.
I'm glad this isn't a visual podcast.
The science backs it up only because of this. I'll say this: if you're going out, obviously it's going to take a toll on you. But they are finding nowadays,
die in the middle of the run.
With proper hydration, science tells you that you are able to build your red blood cell count just as well running in high heat, humidity, as you are at high altitude. It's proven. And actually, they are finding more and more that in running in high heat and high humidity, it sticks with you because you're staying at the same elevation. You know, if you're working out at elevation, you're working out at high altitudes, and you're gaining all that red blood cell. When you come back down to sea level, you lose a lot of that. They're finding that the way you keep that is by doing it in the heat. Now listen, to Kev's point, like you said, if you could see him, you would understand what I mean. To Kev's point, if you're just getting miles in, the time to train isn't probably until camp starts, right? It's not time to really get working until September. It's just to get the miles in. But I'll put it this way. If you have an easy run and you want it to be easy, then you run in the morning, right? You run in the AM. You run at the coolest parts of the day. If you are an early bird and you can get up before the sun, I would even recommend to do that. But you are losing benefits. I don't care what anyone says. If you get an easy run in at 6 a.m. versus 2 p.m. in the heat of the day, even though they can be the same exact speed, we'll say they're 8 minutes a mile, you're going to get more benefits in the heat. It's just science. It's just the way it is. But if you want to save your body for the fall, which I think is Kev's approach and why he's shaking his head at me to tell don't listen to everything I say, is because you really want to hold that work in. You want that work to come in the fall. You want that hard work to come in September. There's a reason why a lot of teams hold practices closer to dusk, right? They're holding practices at 6 o'clock or post 6 o'clock. They don't necessarily have practices in the midday. There's a reason for that. And it's safety, it plays into it too, but, that's where the recovery, that's where nutrition and diet comes in too, you can't just be drinking water. You got to be getting some electrolytes, right? You got to be getting, I'm a huge fan of Celtic sea salt. Sprinkle a little Celtic sea salt in your water. That'll help you stay hydrated, especially on these hot summer days. But Kev, I think, is going to tell you, this is a coach's opinion. I'm just an assistant coach, right? Think of it that way. This is the guy who actually has produced athletes, has gotten them to PR. He didn't say it, but he coached Jenna, right? I think Jenna is one of the greatest examples of talking about putting in work, letting the body acclimate, and then you're seeing the results. But yeah, I already know what you're going to say.
Well,
Tom.
Jenna did pass out after finishing third at DELCO championships because she was dehydrated in the hot, soupy day of DELCO championships that day. So maybe it was my fault. Maybe I trained her wrong in that time period. I hope she's not listening to this podcast. She might actually listen to this one, which is surprising. Actually, not surprising. She's a future sister-in-law at this point, for those who don't already know that. But yeah, she passed out after DELCO championships. I met her at Riddle Hospital with her medal that day. But maybe we should have ran through the soupy days. But we did.
She would have been more prepared if she ran in the heat of the day every day. She would have been more prepared. I'm just saying.
We did have some soupy runs, soupy workouts that they hated, but I'm definitely an early morning, late at night runner, especially if you're having just a distance run just to get the mileage in. I think those are the best times to run. I just think it's more beneficial in the body in general, just so you're not dying. Unless you have someone who, and I think I offered this to Greg back in the day when I was trying to talk him into summer running, someone who would put water on a corner for you. And I think I did offer this to you. Literally, because he would run through Drexel Hill, and I said, hey, I'll put water on the corner for you so that you're grabbing water and you're staying hydrated during your run.
Yeah.
And I know I've even offered that to other people as well. What was you talked about cross-training without actually talking about cross-training. What was your favorite thing to do in the summer as a cross-training method?
Playing basketball. only because everyone did it. It was I liked playing the games. I was very competitive, so like I liked playing games that everyone was playing. I wasn't a great basketball player by any means. I would say well below average, but as most athletes know, effort sometimes trumps skill. But playing basketball, I think the short sprints, right? You're running up and down the court, start and stop. I think that was a huge benefit. Swimming was nice and leisurely, I think, compared to most of the things I had done. And talk about working your cardiovascular system. Learning how to breathe in the water is a huge challenge in itself. Not even talking about the muscles that you use, full body workout and swimming. But
you reminded me of something else we did is like conversations on distance runs. When it comes to swimming, we used to have conversations on a distance run on who could hold their breath underwater the longest, and we'd have these conversations. When you're running, you have weird conversations. I remember having this conversation with you, McNulty, DeCarlo, like Willard, all of these conversations about who can hold their breath underwater the longest. For no apparent reason, and literally I would go home and I would hold my breath underwater in a bathtub just because I'm building up this cardio.
Yeah, not tell anyone you did it too, so that if it ever came up,
I got 2 minutes. You guys aren't on my level.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool that you bring that up. Really quick snippet here. Breath work is huge. That they're finding in so many ways for not only your cardiovascular system but for your mind. As a cross-country runner, that everyone says those numbers, this is, 20% skill and 80% mental. Put it whatever number you want on it. There is no doubt if you are a cross-country runner, that getting through your hardest runs or your hardest races, it becomes mental. The difference between a PR a lot of times and then falling 30 seconds short of your PR in a 5K, for instance, is you knew in the race when you finished where you let off the gas or you pressed on the gas, right? And usually those PRs, how rewarding are those PRs, guys? That is a huge, huge difference. So the mental thing, breath work, a big thing that if I was a coach, that I would put into cross-country summer training, if you will, or training in general, this can be done every single day, is just taking a little bit of time and do steady breathing in your nose, out your mouth, in your nose, out your nose, in your mouth, out your mouth, however you want, but find your breath, open your lungs, right? Really take gigantic in-breaths. For instance, I'll give you a little thing that I do that I think works for all people I work with, all athletes, and for myself. I've seen it tried and true for myself. Take a deep in-breath, slow as long as you can. For instance, your in-breath is 30 seconds, right? We'll just say for beginners, 10 seconds. You take a 10-second in-breath, and then you slowly breathe out for 10 seconds as well. You eventually build up where one breath in and one breath out becomes a minute. And then before you know it, it sounds crazy, but you might be able to slowly breathe in for 45 seconds to a minute and then slowly breathe out for that same amount of time. Before you know it, you're taking one inhale and it's covering 2 minutes. Those types of things. The holding the breath thing is kind of funny. You can kind of test yourself out, but that's not necessarily going to benefit you outside of the mental game of how long you can hold your breath. Don't hold your breath until you pass out. I would say that. A little. But like I said, the breathwork thing is big. But anyway, the cross training, like you had said, doing those types of things for runners, for all athletes. Core work is so essential. Hip flexor work for runners is gigantic hip flexor work. So you're so fortunate. Once again, you can look up these workouts, little things. Some of them are difficult, some are easy. They put you on beginner level, and then you can work all the way up to difficult. But hip flexor work and your calves, feet and calves. If you are sitting down for a long time, say you have a summer job and you're sitting down, or maybe you just like sitting down and watching TV, whatever it is you're doing, sit there and just lift your toes. Lift your toes up off the ground, your feet up off the ground.
Watching TikToks, not TV.
Yeah, whatever you're watching, whatever you're sitting and watching, lift your feet up. Just sit there. Keep your heel planted in the ground and lift your feet up. That's going to build up your shins. That's going to prevent you from getting shin splints. It's going to, once again, your calves are so valuable in running. Those muscles, I should say, because there are two sections of your calves, but they're so powerful. They are so powerful, you don't even realize it. But you got to work them. right? You know, you guys, I'm sure, do all kinds of calf drills, walking on your toes and things like that. But in your downtime, I'm telling you, heels planted in the ground and just lift up your feet. I wish I could show you.
Well, and the other thing you mentioned was the breathing techniques. We call that mindfulness in education now.
Love it.
And these kids are, when they hear the word mindfulness, they know exactly what I'm talking about. That's different yoga breaths. It's different breathing techniques. It's just to calm you down a little bit, but it also, like you said, it has those added benefits. Taking those breaths in, using those mindfulness practices that you've learned in school. And I know some of you are like, come on, this again? And I know you've heard it over and over and over again, but there's benefits for it. There's a reason why you're taught it in schools, outside of schools, in practices. There's a reason why you're taught how to breathe. I mean, Charlie McNulty, a name I've already mentioned, he's the one who taught me how to breathe during races.
Sure.
So you having that conversation, like, hey, Charlie, how do you do this? How are you building that stamina? I mean, he was someone who came from behind always and pushed ahead in races. He was never one that went out with
mental
the leaders.
Toughness
he would go out in the top 20 and then just pick off kids one by one by one. And a lot of times it was that mental toughness, that breathing, among other things. Last quick hitter, one workout that separates the greats from the rest.
Mile repeats. Yeah. Hills are amazing, but I think you guys might understand what I'm about to get at. Mile repeats uphill. It sounds crazy, but if you can find a long hill, if you live in Delaware County and you want arguably the greatest workout I think that I had ever personally done in the sense of challenging at the time.
Is this Hunting Hills?
No, Hunting Hills is another animal too, but that's harder to find. But I think if you live in Delaware County, you know where Ridley Creek Park is, right? Yep. There is one long hill in Ridley Creek Park if you start at the bottom and it works up to the left, right? It depends on where you park at that place. But if you park at the bottom, you run up to the left. It's short of a mile. I think it's about 0.7, maybe 0.8. But if you start at the bottom, it's not a direct uphill. It's kind of loops and rolls, and then it's kind of direct uphill. If you are doing something like that, I think mile repeats are it. I think mile repeats on shorter rest, the shorter your rest gets, the better you get as well. I think that is the workout. But if you could do it with resistance uphill, I would say that there's nothing better for a distance runner, mind you.
So, and I agree with the mile repeats. One thing I always did was I did mile repeats on the cross country course we were racing championships at. So the first mile, they would know every step of that first mile. They know every step of that second mile, every little nook and cranny of the course. I would try to break down for them prior to that mile. So they're like, hey, this is how you take this course. This is how you run this certain part of the race. Instead of taking it outside, like back in the day, 352?
Yeah.
All right, back in the day, we used to run along 352, and every runner used to take it all the way on the outside of 352. Tom Kennedy taught us how to take it on the inside, and you're still on the course. There was a hill no longer on the course at Rose Tree Park.
Or 252, right?
252,
but anyway, sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. It's Delco, I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter.
It's somewhere in Delco.
But yes.
There was another hill that we would take the inside of the tree instead of the outside of the tree like everybody else, just so it was a straight shot up the hill. You're still running 2 miles, but you're running it in a straight line. Mike Fletcher taught us quickest way to get somewhere.
Yeah,
straight line every time. And I've always taken those words from Fletch from my freshman year, the 1 year he coached us, onto my own coaching. So
I still do it, even on my runs today or things like that. It's not cheating. If when they measure out a course, they're measuring out a course. That's the distance, right? So you're not cheating if you're finding all the corners. You're hitting the straight lines, right? It doesn't seem like it, but if you're running an extra 20 yards to the left when you eventually have to make a right, that ends up being seconds. At the end of a race, that might be seconds, which for some people is a difference of a PR. There's nothing worse than, it's all mindset, but coming 1 second short of a PR is sometimes worse than coming 10 seconds short of a PR, because then you start to calculate in your mind where you could have cut that 1 second. But that's part of it too. Learning the course is a huge thing. If you're not, especially Rose Tree, it's available to all. You can go and do it whenever. Once you know the course, you kind of just go and jog it, get to know it.
You definitely have to get to know it. Sometimes there's changes. You've all seen the changes within the last few years of that course in general, but you definitely get to know it. Now that we've talked about those summer training, the summer programs, they're turning out stronger athletes. Let's talk about the incoming sophomore class. A couple years ago, we did the incoming freshman class. I want to talk about the incoming sophomore class.
Cool.
A little bit more and see how these trainings could benefit different athletes. Last year I saw an athlete, and I'm going to talk girls before I talk about boys. Last year I saw an athlete by the name of Cecilia Kane from Ridley. Cece challenged up top the entire DELCO championship race. She was up with Carson Tierney, Emma Hyde, Ryan Dankinis, all from... Actually, Ryan was a little bit behind Cece at the time, I believe, in this race. To the point where Cece was racing for third as a freshman. Where she just ran a little bit out of gas within that last mile, but she was going for third overall. She went 19:51 over on that course. She does have some good genes as well. I think a summer program could definitely help someone like Cece. You also have someone like Cassidy Jones from Pencrest. Cassidy was 50th at states last year. She finished 11th at DELCO's, running 2011. Cassidy got better as the year progressed. As the year went on, Cassidy's training really kicked in, and you saw a change in her. You have another athlete in Hannah Todd from Episcopal Academy. I've been mentioning Hannah's name for 2 years, being that Episcopal can run 8th graders into their high school program. But now that I'm talking about Hannah Todd as a sophomore and really dialed in sophomore year, hopefully these training programs that Coach Mundy puts out there for her pushes her to another level. Then you have Alexandra Wolf. She was an Academy of Notre Dame. She went 21-20. She was 21st at DELCO's. And Anna Bradford from Episcopal, another runner who has, once again, if a focus is there, can definitely reap some benefits. Overall, going into that sophomore year, going into that class, you're looking at also a Coco Connor from Radnor. Coco's the number 1 ranked sophomore going into the season. She went 19:42 at District 1 championships. Now remember, District 1 is run the same course as Paul Short. It is a fast course. You've run on that course. I've never run on that course. Mm-hmm. You know the times are a little bit askewed. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't discount a 19.
It's still distance, yeah. The distance isn't short, distance. And I don't care what anyone says. Everyone talks about that sometimes. Oh, it's got to be short of 5K. It's just the way that the hills roll. I think there's nothing on that course that is very challenging in the sense of uphill, of resistance. Everything kind of rolls. Even the uphills, they're led with these like nice long downhills. In comparison, the downhills are way steeper than the ups. So I think the course just kind of rolls, but it doesn't take away from the distance. 5K is 5K. The clock doesn't lie. The courses might a little bit, but like it doesn't lie.
Yeah, and I mean, once again, those hill trainings, they're only making you stronger for this course, even though there's not a resistance against it.
Absolutely.
It's making you stronger, and it shows in performances. I mean, you're looking at the top 5 times right now for that sophomore class on the girls' end. They are all run on that Lehigh course.
Yeah.
Now, Cassidy Jones is not on the top freshman list from last year's sophomore list because Cassidy Jones... her school year is not actually on mileslip. But Cassidy Jones, I believe, would have also she clearly ran strong at District 1 championships because she went to state championships and finished 50th overall.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to just do a quick search on where Cassidy finished at PIAA District 1 championships a year ago, you're looking at Cassidy went 27th at 19:05. So Cassidy would actually be the number 1 returning sophomore in this class, with Coco Connor being number 2 from Radnor. Cece Kane, I've already told you about her strength. If she's able to have that strong summer season and continue to build, I think she's definitely going to be up there as one of the top names in Ridley history. And I mean, she has a sibling in the name of Jackson Kane anyway. So you got strong genes in that family. I mean, Sydney Sweeney has genes. The Canes have nice genes. So
yeah,
if you've seen that commercial, Sydney Sweeney has good genes apparently. Hannah Todd's another one. Like again, if you're able to put the work in over the summer, she went 20-26 at Paul Short, another one that could definitely step up into this season. I think Episcopal does rely a little bit more on her this year, but I think everybody's relying on each and every individual in this race. I mentioned Alexandra Wolf. She went 20-39 last year. Name I didn't mention was Maddie Roudet from Pencrest. Every time I talk about the podcast, I talk about the top runners, because it's no longer one front runner. Now it's two front runners and like figuring out where 3, 4, and 5 are. Maddie Roudet and Cassidy Jones definitely give Pencrest two top runners up front, and now we find the rest. So once again, summer training, I gave you some times from Sam Gleva at the beginning of the episode of a Jenna Rastatter. You're looking at those 21-minute times, those 22-minute times. So you're also looking at athletes like Anna Bradford, like I mentioned, from Episcopal Academy, Addie Atkins from Delco Christian, who ran at state championships last year in the single A race, Charlotte Gone from Haverford, and Haverford just has a program in which they can build. Amelie Catewell, I hope I pronounced that name right, or it might be Amelia Catewell from Haverford. Again, Haverford has like a bunch of names here. Claire Emmerich from Haverford, and then you have Alexis from Strathaven, Qualiteri, who could also step up 22 minutes. Once again, another coach that's proven to build runners up to that next step. She could definitely be in there. Brooke Davis from Marple Newtown, 22:09. You have a lot of different athletes. If you're able to put the work in over the summer, you can see that time drop like we saw with Jenna and Sam in our coaching career. And I mentioned Jenna and Sam because they're my prime examples, even as a coach at Prendy for years, of people who drop time because of summer running programs. I can easily mention other names like Cece Perkins, Bridget Jacobson, and like a bunch of different athletes I could clearly mention, but those are two that are like that prime example.
Yeah.
Like if you put in the work, you listen to your coach, you're able to step up and step forward onto the next step. On the boys' end, there were no boys. There was one boy who was a freshman last year who finished 50th overall. I believe from Marple Newtown. I'm going to double check on that in a minute. But there were no boys who ran in Delco championships that were in the top 25. The names that I mentioned, Cece King, Cassidy Jones, Hannah Todd, Alexandra Wolf, and Anna Bradford all finished within the top 26.
The girls are deep. It is. It's just looking at this list. I'm not very familiar with the past races, especially from the past couple of years, but just seeing these times, girls, like you all have shots to really, really make some PRs and put your face in the crowd. There's to see that many names already under 23 minutes, as freshmen, it's really impressive. So build upon that, And two little things I would like to touch on too. We talked about all these uphills. Learn how to run downhills. That is a huge, huge advantage in cross country. If you can let your body kind of go with the flow of the downhill, it will help your body slightly recover and you'll just pick up speed. If you are a runner who's not kind of letting loose on the downhills, you're probably exerting more energy than you realize. So learn how to run these downhills. And another thing to touch on before I forget on the summer training, not only does the summer training help you to start off well, but it helps you in the back end. On the opposite side, not doing summer training, not only does it kind of take away from the beginning of camp and the beginning of the season because you're trying to play catch up, but in trying to play catch up, you're also taking away from the back end of your season because you're kind of burning yourself out. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword. You're not doing the training and you're coming in trying to catch up, and then it's going to take away from you a little bit on that back end. I just wanted to touch on that before we moved on to the boys.
And the boy I was mentioning there, 50th overall, was Sean Brady from Springfield. And then they had Samuel Kubiak from Springfield who went 53rd. Those were your top freshmen in that varsity race going forward on that boys' end. And as you said, with that training going forward, we also live in a world of everything's on PA mile split.
Yeah.
We had a conversation pre-recording with could you imagine if we had mile split the way it is now?
Yeah.
Like when we had mile split, it was chat rooms basically, and people would talk trash as much as possible.
We weren't allowed to even be in those chat rooms because it was just all trash talking. There was no validity to anything that was being said.
And I mean, even if you go back, Bob Brown told me there was a radio show at one point in which people would call in and trash talk. He's like, yeah, you should bring that back. Bob Brown, a great O'Hara athlete, a great coach as well from Pencrest. Now it's Strathaven, I believe. He coached at Carroll at one point too. He's a very good coach, has a lot of knowledge, is a listener to this podcast as well. But on the boys' end, like I said, there were no standouts at DELCO championships last year because there was nobody around the varsity race. Your biggest standout was Nick Lancey. Nick Lancey was a freshman from Ridley last year. He ran the JV race, and not only ran it, but won the JV race at 18:30. And I think it's because Ridley was going through some injuries at DELCO championships. They weren't putting everything in the varsity lineup. So they mix it up, let their freshmen be freshmen, let their younger guys be younger guys, and sometimes you have to make that choice as a coach. So Nick Lancey was your top finisher. He went 18:30 in the JV race. And if you're looking on it more, your next guy was Arav from Episcopal Academy. And Arav, I'm going to call you Arav K. So no chance I'm pronouncing your name. 1922 is a great start as a freshman, and you only build on from that within your summer training. And there are some coaches that are able to step up with you there. Ridley also has Owen Richardson, who won the novice race, that freshman sophomore race. He went 2013. But if you're looking at top returners, top freshmen going the sophomore year, there is a list on MileSplit. I'm pretty sure this is as even as possible. Even though Cassidy was missing on the girls list, the boys list does have some good athletes. I mean, Caleb Young from Episcopal Academy put on some great races. He was a 16:59 guy. He ran that at the Independent Schools Championships, which is run at Belmont Plateau. So 16:59 on Belmont Plateau is no easy feat at all with all those hills. As your top returning now sophomore, once again, building that mileage. Strathaven is a team that I've been keeping my eye on the boys and the girls end. I know they were not in my rankings so far throughout the season, but they have a kid by the name of Colin Kennedy, who is a 17:26 guy a year ago at District 1 championships. Another guy stepped forward, and not to mention that Nick Lancey kid from Ridley, another person with good genes from Ridley. His brother Joey Lancey's off to St. Joe's University to run with Jackson Kane again. So another impressive feat. Coach Lancey is another follower of the show, great listener of the podcast, and texts me all the time, so I'm sure he might talk trash later. Who knows? But then you look at guys like 1753 is your next time out of Carter McElwain from Radnor. Radnor's a team, again, who've been silently building different programs and different kids up. And then you reach those kids who are going 1812 is their best time. 1821, 1826, 1842. You're hitting it, I believe this, like, 19 low was that Matt DiCarlo territory that we spoke about. We're talking about, like, Matty Hayes territory when we talk about these kids and how a summer
can jump the following year.
Can jump, yep, exactly. Can push you, accelerate you to the next level. And you're looking at, like, James Kearns from Haverford, who right now, to me, is your top team in Delaware County, ranking-wise. You have Aiden Flynn from Springfield Delco, another Springfield kid I mentioned. That's the third Springfield kid I mentioned on the podcast. Andres Calderon from the Haverford School for Boys ran 1826 at Interac. Leo Dow from Strathaven, another Haven kid they keep an eye on. And I think if Bob Brown's there, that's good steps moving forward if he's coaching cross. But like I said, these kids can really jump forward, and with the right training, with the right push, with the right coaching, but specifically with the right teammates around you, they could definitely make that push forward.
Yeah, that leads me into this. We're talking about sophomores today, right? We're talking about freshmen going to be sophomores. You haven't even stepped on a course yet or any of that stuff. Do not put in your mind that just because you are a sophomore that you can't beat the seniors. Just because you are a freshman doesn't mean that you can't beat the sophomores, so on and so forth. If you are labeling yourself in your head that you're a freshman, so you should be finishing here, I should be finishing behind all the seniors and juniors on the team, you're limiting yourself. if you're training with these guys, there's no reason you can't push them in workouts, right? And the season is long. A lot of things happen. You have to be able to step in if something does happen to some of the upperclassmen, right? And even if that's not the case, say a coach's dream, you go through your entire season, your team goes through your entire season, and there's not a single scratch on you, not a single injury to the entire team. It doesn't matter because all you're going to do is continue to push. I guarantee you, some of your athletes, some of your friends, your teammates, they're not going to say it, but they recognize when they hear you breathing behind them. They know it. They know when they like, oh man, you finished really close to me this time. They might not say it out loud, but there is something in them that is going to push them further. So once again, just because you are a freshman or a sophomore or a junior for that matter, does not mean that you cannot be the best on your team or the best in Delaware County. Limiting yourself is I think, a problem. That's the mental game, right? Don't tell yourself, just because, for instance, if your PR is 18:30, we'll talk about Nick Lancey. I don't know if that's your PR, but at Delco's, that's what you ran. If you have in your mind that this year you want to run 17:30, don't limit yourself there. You might catch a great day and run sub 17, so always keep that in mind too. As much as this is a team sport, it is an individual sport. The individuals help to push the team, so always keep that in mind. And
it's another thing, it's like, you have these guys, it's like, know your place, Rook.
Yeah.
You have seniors, you'll have seniors and juniors that know your place, Rook, and they're kind of intimidating. I had one, James Gambino. It was know your place key. Like, you're not better than me. But then when you show up and you push and you're kind of push them in workouts, push them in races, what I didn't realize as a freshman, he's lighting a fire for me to take that next step.
Yeah, it is. It's a endearing type thing, Like Kev's talking about. I laugh because I just remember it so vividly, and I'd like talk about a great person. Like James, I played hockey with him too before cross country started, and he was that same type of way. Vince Gravel was another guy I played summer league hockey with, and he was my favorite senior my freshman year because I knew him before I knew everybody else, right? And he was good to me, right? He wasn't the one that was like, you're not going to do this. He was the one telling me to beat, the sophomores on the team and beat the juniors on the team. And, hey, there's no reason you can't be up here. Like, you need to make varsity, that type of thing. So, like, that mentality is huge. Kev talks about, the seniors that were hard on him. The seniors that were hard on me, they were all had their foot in their mouth by the end of the year because it's a mentality. You just have to, there's a push. There's something that comes from you. Not only did I have a mouth on me too, which didn't help, but when someone pushes on you in that way, you can do it silently. You can do it by putting in the training, and then all of a sudden you're breathing down their neck and they're looking back like, where did this come from? So it is that I think there is something nice. I can't speak for your teammates, but if the upperclassmen are being rough on you, it's only because they want you to be better, because they know deep down that if you're better, they're going to be better, and it reflects on them. It reflects on your whole program. At Delco, there is such thing as Delco pride and pride in your high schools and things like that. I get it, but at the same time, everyone just wants everyone to be better, and that should be the goal.
Right, and I mentioned Gambino. He definitely pushed me to be a different athlete, different competitor. But at the same time, I had a guy like a Bernie Rendler who was like, dude, keep giving your best, keep pushing yourself forward. We specifically even talked the other night on the phone about seniors that like kind of took us under their wing as freshmen to the next level. And it's like, hey, they can do that. We want to do that for those guys in the future as well. We might be tough on these kids, but we want this program to be better.
Yeah.
When we're out of here, we want to leave a mark. And Vince Gravel, Bernie Rendler, Mike Callahan, Steve Howning.
We were spoiled.
James Gambino.
Jack Brackenier and even the track guys. The track guys used to come out to cross-country meets, Tom O'Brien and athletes like I think Anthony Haygood and how like Anthony Haygood was so influential on me by pushing me and giving me a hard time, but he would be the one that he would just laugh because he knew that he could get under my skin, but then at the end of the day he knew that it was making me better, and there was a respect that even though I was when I first met Anthony Haygood, I think I was maybe 5 foot, and here's the star athlete of the football team.
Give you some background. Anthony Haygood spent some time in the NFL as well.
Yeah.
So having a guy like Anthony Haygood, who's your star athlete in the school, who is NFL bound at one point, D1 bound, within the next year. I know that's intimidating for a lot of you going into it, but it also gives like, hey, this guy's giving me a push. This guy's supporting me at a track meet. This guy's showing up to cross country meets.
Yeah. Well, like, the way I saw it was the fact that he was even talking to me gave me a boost, right? And then for me to kind of fire back at him and not just be like, oh yeah, I'm just some freshman, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. It also, and then it built a relationship, like I think that's what happens is, high school is a challenging time in general for all kids, I think, right? There's a transition. There's so many people, so many parts. Be yourself is a huge thing of it, but at the same time, it shouldn't matter what year you were. Everyone should be good to each other. Everybody, the seniors should be good to freshmen. If that's not the case, then, find your way somewhere else, right? If people are truly hurting you in that mentality, then step away, right? Find the people that are going to lift you, the reason why I say that is because when I walked into O'Hara as a freshman, I was spoiled. We were spoiled. My whole freshman class, we were spoiled. They cared about us so much. They took us out to eat after every single meet, if not during the week. They made sure that we were good all the time. They used to say hi to us in the hallways. They always took care of us. They used to bring us everywhere. There's something to that. I think that also is what helped me propel to be a good runner because it gave me a confidence. It gave me a confidence that I, not only in myself, but that people had my back. So like I'm telling you, team building, that type of stuff, going on these team runs, like Coach Key is saying, is you got to do that stuff. It's not that it's mandatory, right? But it builds you. The better you get to know your teammates, the more you're going to be able to help them out. I think that just goes without saying.
And you get to know each other's nooks and crannies. I mean, if you're beating someone on a course one day, it's like, hey, I'm the guy. I'm that guy up now. I'm that number 5 guy. I need to step up. But I'm going to bring that guy who I'm passing right along with me. Yo, come on. Got to do it for the team. I mean, everything is team-oriented here when it comes to cross-country. And as a sophomore, now you're moving up to that next level. As a sophomore, you're trying to give a nice little boost. You're not upperclassmen yet, but you're getting there.
Yeah.
So bringing those freshmen under your wing is important.
Difference maker.
It's a huge difference maker. I remember a Jack Protesto, who I saw a few weeks ago, bring me under his wing. Matt Boyle, bring me under his wing. Dan Brown, bring me under. Matt Van Dyne. They were sophomores when I was a freshman.
Yeah, we were spoiled.
They would bring us under. They would talk to us about our next level, and we'd mess around every once in a while, as teenagers do, as cross-country athletes do. But, yeah, bring kids under your wing. You never know when you need someone in the future. They do become such great resources, such great friends, and someone you can literally sit down and have hour-long like this podcast has gone over an hour. I didn't expect it to go over an hour with a former teammate of mine that I haven't we haven't seen each other in about 6 months.
But which is a lot for us though. Let's be real.
So having these conversations, like these are things that are started where you are right now. So you're going to get to that next level. You're going to be ready to go. And like I said, put the training in. Trust. I hate the saying now because it's overused, but trust the process. Like, trust that, like, your coaches have your best interest as mine. And if you feel as if they don't, try to make a change. Talk to other people. See what's happening.
Yeah, there are too many resources now where, like, if you feel like you're unhappy in your situation, it's just an excuse. Look up, if you want to be a better runner, it's easy. Look up the best runners in the world, their running programs, and tone it back, or challenge yourself. I'm not saying that's what to do. I'll say this. As a runner in Delaware County, I believe you are very fortunate. There are many coaches who are still coaching today who were coaching when I was running in high school. And if they aren't still coaching, they pass it along to somebody who they coached and so on and so forth. There is so much of that in Delaware County that they want your best. They have their best intention for you. They do. It may not seem like it. You might not understand how it is that they go about doing things, but trust me, they have your best interest. So trust it. Trust the process. It's overused, but it makes sense. It really does.
And they do care. These coaches do care. I've become friends with a lot of the coaches in the area. I was friendly with them when I was coaching. It was kind of like a friendly rivalry at one point, but now it's a friendship where we have conversations about the sport. We have conversations about how to push people to that next level. And I appreciate the relationships that I've built just through this podcast. So, like I said, keep trusting yourself. Keep trusting your coaches. Trust your teammates. They know more than anyone else. So go build with these teammates and get out to that next level. Be ready to move, because I'm excited come September 27th this year at Rose Street Park to see everybody on the same cross country course. Hopefully everybody on the same cross country course again. Really pushing for the best in Delco. I'm actually going to sign off on that, but as I sign off, make sure you give this podcast a 5-star review. Leave a comment. Let me know how we're doing. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at DelcoXCPod. You can always email me, delcoxc@gmail.com. This is Kevin Key. I'm going to sign off with telling you how to move. Greg, you want to do anything?
Shout out, Agnes Irwin girls, Coach Steph. I know you're doing a great thing over there. Steph, you're amazing. Keep plugging. Hopefully I see you guys at a race this year.
You're going to give me so much hate just for one shout out. Shout out to all of the great teams in Delaware County. Every single one of them.
I know the Agnes Irwin girls are listeners, so if you're listening, just wanted to say hello.
Thank you, Greg. Can't wait for those text messages later. This is Kevin Key signing off. Enjoy your training. Enjoy the show. Get out there. Get on those hills. Get on those repeat miles. Move.